Did you see anything strange about this? I mean, this is the biggest star in the NBA, and he is the only one bringing the league to the public's attention. Kennedy is catching him off guard. In China, I received the Good Temperance Award. If you counted 0 congratulations, you were right to guess not only how many players had Caitlin's back, but also how many teams were eager to sign Kennedy. Carter, I know you've seen this clip 1,000 times, but that's not what I want you to focus on. Watch it again. Carter, it is well known that Caitlin endured a great deal of abuse during the previous season. If it wasn't her opponents that bodied her, it was the media. And you may think, well, that's just part of the game, and you would be correct. Players would do anything to avoid scrutiny, to get into their opponents' heads, especially when it comes to impact players. However, when it comes to impact, letting opponents take advantage of your star is not how it's supposed to work in sports. Even if your star is capable of handling themselves, you protect them at all costs. Every opposing team needs to know that cheap shots will be met with retaliation if your team lacks this dynamic. If it's missing the sandpaper to go along with a skill, it's going nowhere. This season is a grind, and the playoffs are even more physically taxing. Back to Caitlin, it's evident from the Fever's recent roster moves that they brought in a lot of talent to support Caitlin. The talking heads are raving about how terrifying and unstoppable they will be, almost like the Win Banal. There are plenty of Harlem Globetrotters out there, but what about sandpaper? The Grit and Fever are tough enough. Well, fans of Fever, buckle up, because there's more to their new acquisitions than meets the eye. One thing that I think will bring this team together, build team toughness, and put Caitlin in a situation she has never been in before is this video. It's all good stuff, so let's get started. Kennedy Carter's rookie season was a baptism by fire, to put it mildly. From the first time she took the court, Clark experienced a level of physical play that went beyond tough defense and verged on outright intimidation. She had a target on her back, and she soon realized that surviving in the pros would be a completely different ballgame. The abuse she received felt personal, and it's no secret that many, at one point in the year, 177% of all egregious fouls were committed against her, and the abuse became more severe after the Fever began in seasons 1 and 8. Players both active and retired were envious of the attention she received, and her opponents were determined to punish her for every point, assist, and bit of attention she received. As the season went on, it became increasingly clear that the Indiana Fever roster lacked a deterrent, while other teams had veterans who would step in to protect their stars. Clark's irritation was evident as she commented, "I feel like I'm getting hammered." Even though Caitlin had a rookie season to remember, it looked like Clark was left on her own. Her teammates would come and help her up off the ground, but where was the confrontation, and why were opponents so fearless now? 19 to 2 points per game with an average of about 23 points per game following the Olympic break, rookie points records, rookie assist records, and guard first team points records. Here are the first 3 KNs in this building. Caitlin Clark was the first rookie to achieve this since Candace Parker in 2008. She was named Rookie of the Year and 4th in MVP voting. She overcame adversity and more than lived up to the hype among her many accolades, winning Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year and AP's Female Athlete of the Year. I mean, I bet many of you watching this right now didn't watch the WNBA before Caitlin, or weren't as invested in it the quarter. Attendance was significantly higher, and viewership was up 17%. Caitlin's actions caused merchandise sales to soar, and it's estimated that she was responsible for 1 out of every 6 tickets sold and nearly 27% of the WNBA's revenue. This is a league that was, and still is, losing money, but now it has hope and optimism. As a result, the abuse she endured wasn't just a problem for Clark or the Fever. It was also a bad look for the WNBA because it allowed her to be singled out without cause, putting the league's golden goose in jeopardy. The situation harked back to the NBA's early years when young stars like Michael Jordan were subjected to similar treatment. It took enforcers like Charles Oakley to send a message that cheap shots wouldn't be tolerated. An enforcer's psychological impact cannot be overstated. Simply knowing that there will be consequences for bad behavior on the court can change an opponent's game plan. For young stars like Clark, an enforcer offers more than just protection. They also provide mentorship and a sense of security that allows them to play their game without constantly watching over their shoulder. Draymond Green, who knows a thing or two about mixing it up, chimed in, emphasizing the need for the Fever to invest in an enforcer to protect Clark. This might be a game changer for Caitlin Clark, another three-point shooting standout who frequently performs better when they have enforcers on their side. As her rookie season came to a close, there were concerns about how long she could persist this level of punishment. And more importantly, what would the Indiana Fever do to make sure their franchise player wasn't left hanging out to dry? They made some big moves, and everyone is talking about the championship, and rightfully so, because the players they acquired bring a ton of skill and experience, but it's more than that. Before I go into the players they picked up and their actual impact, we need to talk about the most important move the Fever made early in the offseason, the one that set the stage for everything that followed, switching coaches shortly after the 2024 season ended. The Fever axed Christie's sides. It was obvious that Caitlin and Christie didn't exactly get along. You could see it written on Caitlin's face during games, and following Sid's exit, she implied that the coaching didn't provide her with the game plans or support she needed to succeed. Given that no one gave me advice during the season, I wish the Fever had recognized this and brought in Stephanie White from the Connecticut Sun. Why was this swap so significant? White is the 2023 Coach of the Year, and she has a track record of getting the most out of her players and putting winning systems in place. The message was clear. The time is now. Bringing in White wasn't just a coaching change. It was a statement to all free agents out there that we're serious about making the playoffs. This move set the tone for the entire league. The Fever weren't just looking to make the playoffs. They were building a contender with a generational talent who, despite being years from her prime, was already in the MVP conversation. Winning, and we're not waiting 5 years to do it. As it turns out, their message was received, and ex-critics who said that elite free agents couldn't possibly sign in Indy were proven to be mistaken. Two-time champion Natasha Howard is renowned for her physical style and defensive skills. The team that originally selected Howard, the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year with 2 All-Star selections, is getting her back. A lovely shot of Natasha Howard disappearing. They also signed Deanna Bonner, another veteran with 2 WNBA titles under her belt. Bonner's size, skill, and veteran leadership will help mentor younger players like Clark and Aaliyah Boston through the highs and lows of a WNBA season. Her addition gives this young squad a sense of familiarity and a championship mentality that they sorely need. Recall that I said Stephanie White was a crucial addition, in addition to Sophie Cunningham, who they obtained from the Mercury Active for BG. Bonner's experience with White from her time with the Sun is anticipated to improve team dynamics on and off the court. There is a lot of debate on the internet about whether Sophie is a true enforcer, but one thing is certain, she isn't scared to mix things up. She has a reputation for being fiercely competitive and willing to take on anyone on the court. There is a steal Cunningham from the corner for 3. She hits it and fouls a chance to tie. Although Sophie isn't the only one who starts arguments, Cunningham is a talented player who won't think twice about confronting anyone who opposes her or her teammates. The durability of Deanna Bonner is widely known across her career in basketball. Her iterative instincts were demonstrated in 2019 when she defended Diana Taurasi during an on-court altercation. She doesn't fear confrontation when called upon, according to former coach Sandy Brondello, who regarded her as a warrior who continually pushes through tiredness and adversity. As we look at Diamond, DeShields, and Caitlin Clark, consider how this change in team dynamics could affect Clark's performance and the Fever's overall strategy, with added protection, less physical wear and tear, and a more balanced player. Natasha Howard is known for her toughness on the basketball court, which is demonstrated by her defensive tenacity and physical style of play. The Fever are more skilled and tougher to play against by bringing in a mix of will, grit, and championship pedigree. Clark's already remarkable numbers were made feasible by a balanced and powerful attack that was made possible by both players and improved play calling. How would skyrocket impact the Fever's prospects of a deep playoff run? These signatures distinguish yourself from other teams' off-season additions, as some clubs concentrated on adding one or two essential assets. This aggressive approach in free agency is reminiscent of the moves made by championship contenders not usually associated with teams that finish with a 500 record. Which brings us back to the topic of protecting Caitlin and why I believe these players will join the Fever. The Fever made a concentrated effort to overhaul their roster with proven winners and tough competitors. Yes, Stephanie White as well, but mostly Caitlin. Here are the main distinctions between her rookie and sophomore seasons. Seasons, which I believe apply here. Caitlin was the one who joined the Fever when she was drafted and entered a system that was as harsh as it needed to be. Sophie, Danana, and Natasha are entering a system that will be designed around Caitlin's squad this time around. But don't take it from me, they don't feel inferior or resentful. They're there to win a championship. Bonner was clear about Clark's impact when he said, "I want to be a part of something special with Caitlin because she is a generational talent. I want to be a part of a team that can win another championship, and Caitlin is a big part of that vision," Howard said with delight. "Playing with Caitlin is a dream come true, and I think we can accomplish great things together. This is a skilled and seasoned team that is eager to win," and Cunningham's excitement was evident. Able to divert attention away from Clark, and you have to believe that they would defend each other and their hero at all costs. The acquisitions made by the Fever are beneficial for the players and the league as a whole, regardless of whether the detractors like it or not. If you're still here, please drop a basketball emoji in the comments so I can personally thank you. I'll see you next time. Caitlin Clark's championship challenge is precisely what the league needs, and it will be a lot of fun to watch it. And the hater meltdowns